Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for my friends and family. And I pray that you help other people find their friend groups. And I pray that if they don't have good families, that those friend groups turn into like their family. I pray that they grow closer to you, most importantly. And I just pray that everybody has good people that they can rely on, as well as building that relationship with you to help them in life. Thank you for all that you give us, and may we all be forgiven for our sins. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Skeptics Podcast, episode 28.
Yep.
Dum, dum, dum. John Boy, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, really, Feeling pretty good, doing pretty good. I think the health and wellness is up.
Good.
So that's
Good.
always a benefit.
Good. Is how much a role would you base the percentage on, like you doing something different or just your environment's different? Are you physically doing something or mentally doing something different that you've tried for a little bit and maybe this works, maybe this doesn't work, or is it more of a friends, family, work, different kind of that stuff?
I think it's more of a friends and family thing. There's maybe a couple of things I'm doing different, but I've only been like working out in the mornings just briefly.
With me.
So I don't know yet if that has the effect or not.
I was going to ask you pretty soon if you've
Yeah.
been able to like see any kind of difference in whether how well you could deal with workloads, relationships with people, just if you get to know your body a little bit better or so. But it's very, very interesting question because some people it might not do anything to.
Right.
I would still argue it's good for you.
Right.
But I've every now and then I'll get real stagnant kind of in the gym.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm like, what do I really trying to work towards here? Because like if the goal forever to put on muscle is not going to become true. I mean,
Right.
I'm 28 now. I think most people's like results start tapering somewhere around like 35, 37 or so. So I still got a little while and I still love going. But on Saturdays recently I've been going and riding the bike.
Yeah.
And like just kind of just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out if I can make some kind of time in a schedule to where I could actually go ride like a physical bike.
Oh, yeah.
Like shout out to Lance. He'll probably never watch this, but a friend of mine named Lance, he's got a bike and he all kind of mountain bikes and stuff. And I know they got that one trail that goes all the way around Harding.
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be so cool just to find some time to be able to go do that once a week or so.
Right.
Because I burned a crap ton of calories on the bike. Now, my heart rate was like 160 the whole time, which is another really weird thing because if my heart rate's 160, like when I'm walking on a treadmill at like this kind of incline, like I can barely talk. I'm
Right.
I'm trying to like really focus. On a bike, it's up, but I can still talk. And I wonder why that is because it's the same heart rate. And technically you're using your bigger muscles more because you're continuously trying to go faster and faster and faster versus just staying at like a steady walk.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying the crap out of it.
I think it has something to do with the fact that they call it low impact cardio.
You think meaning the bike is lower impact than just walking on an incline?
Yeah.
But I do know my legs don't get sore after right now.
Yeah.
And Greg Doucette was the guy that he was like he rides a bike every day for like 6 hours.
Right.
Or it's not 6 hours. My bad. For a couple of hours, but burns like 600 calories.
Gotcha.
And I think I rode it for 35 minutes and burned like 300 something calories.
Nice.
So I could see if you're doing that every day, you could probably eat whatever you wanted because you're just burning so many calories. But he said, he was like, I can ride a bike for 3 hours a day and my legs not get sore.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah, I seen a guy who burnt like it was like 1,000 or more calories because he did a 50 miler.
Yeah,
on his bike, and I'm like,
that's crazy.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, you can eat whatever you want after,
Yeah, right.
after that. But Yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot, and I'm glad you're coming. I'm trying to get as many people as possible coming. But you got a story.
Well, just, and I think it falls in line with what we're talking about right now, and like the attitude and the whole mindset thing. Our friend Miranda has been wanting me to stop by. She's got a tiny house, and
Was that the first time you ever been in it?
yeah,
Did you think tiny house when you got there? Like, when you were sitting here thinking tiny house, and you got to her house, were you like, this is exactly what I thought about, or did you think something different? I thought I was going to walk into like a place that's like living room, kitchen, bathroom, loft, bedroom. That's what I thought a tiny house was.
right.
And this is like, I think it's a medium tiny house.
Yeah, like it's definitely on the larger end of the spectrum.
Right.
That's that. Yeah, I walked in and I was instantly shocked by the amount of space.
Right.
I was like this is a lot of space.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were talking about it versus Christina's, because Christina's is technically a little bit larger than Miranda's.
Yes.
But the layout, I think, plays such a huge role in how that feels.
Right. I think Christina's and Boss's, I think theirs is wider.
Yeah.
Like when you walk in, it's a wider than the length, because I think Miranda's technically is like a three room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like living room.
Yep.
You walk into the bedroom and then you walk into the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. But continue with the story.
But either way, I've been meaning to get by over there at some point, because obviously I value hanging out with Miranda, and it just hasn't worked out. And she's been in there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so then finally, here a while back, she was like, you need to get over here. And I'm like, all right, I'll make some time. And so I talked to her. We ended up working it out. And I stopped by. And it's so interesting. Like, you just never know about somebody, I think. Like, I learned so much more about Miranda. Like, there's so much more to her than there is, like, on the surface. Like, if all you did was meet her at a horse show, you would have no idea.
Oh, yeah. No idea.
And so I find that to be super interesting. And really, it was just a beneficial time, I think, to hang out and get to know each other better, to be better friends. So I think it was a really valuable experience.
Miranda's like, well, she's one of the ones that you could like, you can talk to like about womanly things, and it's like she almost can like turn her brain from like, I'm going to give you the woman's opinion, I'm going to give you the man's opinion.
Yeah,
and it's like a lot of people can't do that.
right.
I mean, it's like if you ask me what the opinion of Cammy's is, 9 out of 10 times I'm probably wrong. and Miranda's is, she has like some kind of ability to where she can keep everything normal. And it's like, but she can also give you points and stuff on that and everything. Yeah, I mean, Miranda's awesome. I've known her for who knows how. I mean, it seems like forever at this point.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely she's definitely a solid person to be able to talk to.
For sure. And I think I even realized some things just by hanging out, that maybe I'm a little bit awkward in some areas that I could work on. And maybe that's why, this or that happens just throughout my day-to-day week,
That's awesome you'd be able to pick that up, though.
Yeah.
Like if you could sit there and like you do something, you're like, hey, that might be a little weird, or that might not be the right thing to do or to say, or maybe you don't say anything. Maybe you just sit there and you're like,
there's certain moments where at one point, we sat down to eat or whatever.
Yep.
And I realized how tense I felt. And so I had to like play through my mind, like, why am I so tense? Like, Miranda's chill. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I know Miranda well, but I think it's the fact that like I've never hung out with very many women just one-on-one like that. So doing it in a setting where it's very much just like the fact that we're friends.
Right.
That was kind of a new experience for me. Like, I don't ever come over here and just hang out with Cammie. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was kind of different. And like, I've only ever had dude friends like growing up.
I remember listening to Deloney, and this guy called in, It's a very interesting question, but what you just said kind of reminded me of it. And it was talking about, the guy said, I only have friends that's chicks.
Mm-hmm.
So like somebody that's on the like completely opposite part of the spectrum.
Right.
He was like, dudes just, he was like, they don't really seem to vibe with me for whatever reason. And the Deloney guy was kind of breaking it down, but because I think it's funny when things are awkward. That's always been me.
Yeah.
But so maybe I take it just a little bit different if it's just like me and one person.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see what it would be like to just be like. I mean, you imagine like sitting like you just hanging out with a guy,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you guys know each other. I'm trying to think of like an example.
Well,
I wonder if you would get the same feeling.
Well, here's a perfect example. Like, imagine you go to the mall,
Mm-hmm.
all right, and you're with your brother. We both have brothers,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
you're with a brother, and they're like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick." You're like, "All right, I'm gonna go sit down on this bench."
Mm-hmm.
All right. One scenario, you sit down, and there's a dude sitting next to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and let's say something happens. You may, whether it's funny or whatever, you may be like, "Yo, bro, did you see that?" And just like spark up a conversation. Whereas with a chick, it depends. For me, at least, I think, like I may, like depending on their body language when I walk up and stuff, like there's a lot more to it, I feel like, because I don't want them to feel.
But should there be a lot more to it though?
I don't know. That's just how I am naturally. Like I don't want them to feel threatened. I hear so much about those experiences that women have, and so try to just mind my business.
I've never had the threatened thing like that for whatever reasons. Never popped up like that. I mean, because I guess if I am, I mean, somebody's going to do something about it. I mean, if I guess,
Right.
mean, for whatever reason. But I'd be interested if you have the same like tense feeling, like if you were like just, hey, I'm trying to think, like say you and my brother hung out. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have ever hung out 1-on-1, but you guys have known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like I wonder what the feeling would be like.
It may be a similar thing, though. I mean, because like at first I was tense, but then as the evening progressed, I feel like me and Miranda like started chit-chatting more. Things kind of loosened up, or at least I did. I figure she was just chill the whole time.
Yeah, I figured probably so. Another thing is, though, when you go on a date with a chick,
Yeah.
you know it's probably going to be that, but times 10. So now you can look forward. I mean, now you can be like, oh, I'm starting to feel a specific way.
Yeah.
You're like, let me find a way to bring down the.
Well, what I need to do is try to find a happy medium.
Because I do think people pick up on that. Like if you're tense all the time, I think
Yeah.
people pick up on that because a lot of people like you have to be protective in a way, but you can't be like watching the exit every time like this.
Yeah.
Because I do think they start thinking that's weird. I mean, to find the line between like, hey, I feel protected by this guy, or this guy might be a psycho because he's always waiting for something to happen.
Mm.
That I would definitely feel like I have kept that in mind before, like
Right.
in like past dates. It's like, don't sit there and just kind of like search the room the whole time. It's like, because you got to pay attention to them.
Right. Well, I don't have a problem in that area. I think I do good to like make it feel one-on-one, but
a comfortable one-on-one.
But I think my problem is my own personal, like getting past my own personal hold-ups, because like I've felt both ends of the spectrum. Like I've went on a date before, and I was so anxious that I like couldn't eat, and then on my drive home, my skin felt like it was crawling. Like when you take pre-workout with beta-alanine, and you're crawling. Now 10x that.
Well, what triggers that?
I don't know what triggered it. I've still been trying to process that. I don't know why I was so anxious. Something about it was making me very anxious.
Is this a one-time thing, or has this happened before, like multiple times?
There was only one person that I can think of that's ever made me that anxious.
Oh, so maybe it was just a fluke then. It might have just been that person. I was just wondering if it was like an everyday, like if anytime you've went on a date with somebody, it's like cranks it up to an 11.
No.
And then I'd be like, yeah, I'd probably try to think of.
But I also don't want it to feel like there's no like tension. I think a little bit would be good, because like a little bit of anxiety, that means I think you probably like them. You're not wanting to mess this up. You're thinking it through, but you don't want to be over anxious, and I don't think you don't want any. Because if you don't want any, if it's just another day to you, then maybe it's just like, this ain't the person. Does that make any sense?
It does. I
think it should arouse some form of like.
It does, but my mind, I think it just works different.
But I think I don't want to call it like,
because if you're on your first date, you don't even know, like,
right?
You just know they're good looking. I mean, that's just
right.
Because I mean that is the first. Like 2 years ago, I would have gotten in trouble for saying that because looks don't matter, blah, 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 blah. They matter. It's like it's the first thing that brings anybody to somebody is their looks. That's just what it is.
Right.
And if your relationship does not have attractivism or whatever you want to call it to their looks, then it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Because I hate to tell everybody this, but the older you get, most of the time you don't get better looking. So that sucks. But there's ways around that. You can try to be healthy, take care of yourself, have a good skincare routine, don't stay out in the sun too long. I mean, there's all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're now at a point to where we're like, being attracted to somebody is that's a priority in the thing.
Yeah, I think so.
But kind of going back to what you said, like a first date for me, all I do is just ask a bunch of questions because I don't know anything at this point. And it's like, I'm like, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I mean, the first date is like, I mean, you're still friends at this point. You're not even an item,
right?
Like you're trying to make the friendship, and I think that's sometimes a problem with some people. I think they just try to skip the whole friendship thing.
Yeah,
and they're like, hey, let's just jump into a relationship with each other when you don't know nothing about that person. Now, granted, you will over time, but
yeah, that's an interesting thing because I've had some who just like they'll just dump it all on you. Here's my life in a couple hours span of time. What do you think? It's pretty much how I feel. Like some people literally just like regurgitate everything that's ever happened to them.
Well, I mean that I don't have a problem with, but it's like now if you're asking me how we looking after this, that's a strange question. I mean that's like if I sit there and had like an absolute wild childhood and I was. All these things have happened to me, and I lay it out. Then I'm like, at the very end of the day, I'm like, well, what do you think? I'm like, are we good or are we not good? I mean, I don't think there's a problem whatsoever, even if you're talking about personal things, because that all just goes together with, and I talk about this all the time. I hate the word, but the vibe. Like if you feel some sort of connection without saying anything, like you could say. No, take it back. Without saying anything. Yeah. It's like you could just like kind of look at somebody and you could see the way that they're looking at you and they're looking at you like, oh, I'm just checking that person out. Or they're kind of looking at you like that they're interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about them. And then there's the other weirdos that look at you and they're probably undressing you the whole time while they're looking at you.
That was like these couple of moms when I was at Muscle Beach in California.
Yeah, they're just undressing you?
They were checking me out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that definitely like the vibe. Like me and Cammie, when our first date, we were talking about some wild stuff. I mean, just some off the wall stuff. I mean, nowadays, what's hilarious is I could go back to some of the first questions I've ever asked her on our first date to now, and she would be like, "That's a weird question." Right. And I'm like, our first date, it wasn't a weird question, and it probably was, but it was just. I mean, you just throw everything out there,
right?
Because you. Don't I always say, and whether it works or it doesn't work, but on a first date for me, I just try to hit them with as much of my personality as possible, because if they like that core piece right there, then the rest of it is more or less them, because everybody changes the older you get.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person that I was when me and Cammie got together. Cammie's not the same person. We weren't even the same person after we got married. Things always change. It's just if you're willing to change together. So, yeah, I just lay it all out there.
You want something wild real quick?
Sure.
Two things. One of them, you gave me a piece of advice one time that I thought was super solid. And I don't know why it is. Sometimes you have to hear it from somebody for it to be like...
I know exactly what you're talking about.
For it to be like... Yeah, I could do that.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I remember I was talking to somebody, and I was like, I don't know where this is going. And you were like, just ask them.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Just ask them. So then I did.
Yeah.
I remember we went out to eat. We got in my truck, and I was like, where's this going? I got to ask.
Right.
I was like, I'm sorry to be so blunt, but that's what I need to know.
Right.
And they were like, no, that's cool. And then they told me, and I was like, all right.
All right.
I'm like, why did I not do this the other day?
I've always still thought, I mean, I thought this too.
Yeah.
This is way later after I told you that, because that was my number one thing, is just ask them,
Yeah.
what the heck's going on. If you want a definite answer real quick, you just ask them, do you want to be my girlfriend or not? If they say no, obviously it didn't work.
Yo.
If they say yes, they're like, hey, that's it. Because all that matters is at the start, before your thing, is what you feel. If you feel like it's going good, like, ask them. Because if they tell you no, then all right, that's one less person that I have to look for to get there. I mean,
I love that outlook.
Ever since I had that thought process, it was. I mean, I'm trying to remember who it was. It might have been from John Deloney, but they were like, go out there and date as many people as you can. And I don't mean become girlfriend and boyfriends with everybody.
Right. But
I mean, go out there, try to make
go
friends.
on dates. And,
go on dates and everything like that. Because after everything gets done, you can sit there and you can be like, I went out on 10 dates, and one of them I vibed with.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, you know, almost 99% that the other 9 is not your thing. So you just ruled out those 9 forever.
Yeah.
So now you can kind of keep looking on for the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. So that's the mindset that after I got out of high school, that was like the mindset.
The other thing real quick was, I remember somebody told me one time, because I was talking, I don't remember who I was talking to at the time, but either way, I was fishing with somebody, and we were talking about it because they were asking me how I felt. And I was telling them about it, and they were like, well, I hate to tell you this, but you're kind of a lot. They're like, so it's going to be hard for you to find somebody. And I was like, well, that's encouraging. Thanks.
Well.
And so, you know, that is what it is. But looking back on it, I find it funny. But at the moment, it was like, well, that wasn't helpful at all.
No. The way that whoever it was that said that to you was definitely not the most helpful thing whatsoever. Because if you were a lot, whatever that means.
I get that. It depends on the person.
Right.
Yeah.
Then I would at least, like, if I was doing something that was jeopardizing some kind of something, I would rely on my friends to be like, hey, dude, that you might try this. You don't have to say that your thing's wrong, because it might not be wrong for somebody.
Right.
You might give it like Cammie. Like, if anybody ever, I'm not a lot, I don't really think, but if anybody ever everybody said that to me and told Cammie about that, I'm not a lot near nothing of what Cammie is. Cammie's running 90-0. I mean, like, most intelligent woman I know.
Yeah.
I mean, just going. So I'm nobody near a lot. And when they told me Cammie was a lot, I was like, I'll be all right. Because I'm not a lot, I don't really think.
Right.
So it just kind of flows. And if me and Cammie were both a lot, man, it'd be a roller coaster for sure. But that is the I do think you have a very, very good mindset though. Like when it comes to relationships and everything, because nowadays me and Cammie have talked about it a handful of times. We couldn't imagine what it would be like to, like, if for something ever happened with me and Cammie, or me and Cammie never met each other, what it would be like now, like trying to date somebody. Because I'm like you, I'm not a online dude.
Yeah.
I've been on like one of the things because my friend made it for me, and then I deleted it like 2 days later. I was like, because so many people on these websites are just trying to bang.
Right.
And you're not trying to do that.
Right.
And it's like, anytime I hear like a wild story, something that's like, I found love on Twitter, I'm like, all right. I'm like, what are we like? Let's go through the story here.
Right.
Like, you met each other the first date, smashed. Right after that, you were like, hey, we ought to try this out. That's backwards. That's like that's not the way you should probably do it. Right. But hey, more power to him. Just because I don't think it's right don't mean anything. So
that's true.
But with your kind of mindset, I can definitely see like how it could be much harder, but it goes back to what you said earlier. It's almost could be much easier.
Yeah.
It's like you know exactly what not to look for now.
Yeah.
Now where the other ones are that's like you, that's the
They don't even really have to
that's
be
the
like you
tough
necessarily,
one.
but just somebody who you vibe with. And I find it so funny that you don't like that word.
It's just a way. It just does not. It does not seem like a professional enough word to be.
See,
for what
that's
it
what's
is.
funny. Everybody always tells me that I act too professional. That's my problem. I'm too stiff. I act too professional. But hanging out with you, before I hung out with you, I didn't say bro. Like, I didn't speak bro. All right. I started hanging out with
That's
you,
my thing.
and now I speak bro. Vibe is a bro word.
It is very much a bro word.
So,
But I don't even know where I got vibe from.
like, I chalk it up to hanging out with you, but it's what it is.
It probably is, but I don't even know where But it was the only word I could think.
Right.
I mean, unless you want me to say frequency. Like, are we on the same frequency here? Like, I don't really know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
But
See, I don't vibe with that.
I don't. Yeah, because vibe could be like. It could almost be like a noun, an adjective, or a verb. I mean, it could be like the F word, but the right version of the F word. So, yeah, I don't. It's a dog eat dog world out there. That's all I can say. But it is very interesting getting like a actual good friend, not somebody that you've had feelings for or anything like that. That is the opposite sex to give you like pointers because they're obviously not going to be giving you like. I almost want to say the word distractions, but it's not the right word. But it's like they're not going to be telling you to do something just because they like you and they want you to notice.
Right.
When you can have like a good friend that really like cares for your well-being.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah.
It can play a huge role. I always wonder, like I said, and it's different now that I'm married, but I'm always used to think like, where am I getting more value from? Like, am I getting more value from like good, trusted, like biblical guy friends that I have?
Yeah.
And when it comes to relationships or something, or would I get more value from like a biblical woman that, like I said, it's not trying to do anything with you or anything like that. That's just generally a friend. Because I've got some great advice from Miranda before.
For sure.
I've got a lot of great advice from Cammie. And but then I get great advice from you guys and everything. And like I said, I think it's different now that I'm married. It's because, I mean, I have is like my wife's my main forever,
right?
Like, no matter what. And then I got my guy friends over here. And if I ever need advice from women, I have my wife's friends. That's just how it needs to be. But yeah, I hope. What do you think about that? Like, you think you get different pointers from different people, or is it all kind of one thing? It's just from different perspectives.
Right now, I feel like it's all one boat, just different perspectives. It depends on like each person's individual experiences is how I am able to break it all down, and then I just take away the pieces that I think are going to work for me. Now, some people I think have better advice, and so I may listen to them a little bit more or consult them more. But
you think most advice? I've been thinking on this like a lot. Like, if I ever have told anybody something that they should try, like I've been like a lot about mine's like fitness stuff,
right?
But most people's advice, don't you think, it's primarily based off of experience in something.
Yes.
Like, I don't think nobody's like reads a book and they're like, I'm going to go tell this quote to somebody. And like really, like I'm instinctively live by the thing.
Right.
Like I might send you a quote I heard out of a book. I was like, hey, this is interesting.
Right.
But for one, I didn't come up with that. This guy did, and he came up with it off of his past experiences.
Right.
Roughly.
Right.
Unless he plagiarized it and took it from somebody else. But that makes me sit there and think about like all the stuff I've told people in the past.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, was that really a good thing to tell them? It's like for their situation.
Right.
But a lot of it, I think, comes down, even if you tell somebody like wrong advice, like if Miranda told you something that like didn't work down the line, you it's cool because you're not going to look back and be mad at her because you know she's doing it out of the goodness of her heart.
Right.
It's like not everybody here knows the answers.
Right.
But if you generally care about the person,
mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you tell them something that didn't work for them,
right.
I mean, it's cool that you're not going to be like, well, that person's a dip because they told me this and it didn't work like that. Well, their experience is completely different.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I actually had a little bit of a talk with my brother yesterday and my younger brother, and we were talking about how different people influence and shape your decision-making in your life. And he talked about, like, me versus my older brother and how that's very different. They're drastically different. But there are little moments where, like, I can remember Lucas being like, hey, and really being vulnerable and being like, yo, here's a piece of advice. This is something I've done in my life. Don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, trust me, it's not good. Like, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just going to hold you back. Whether it was relationship advice, life advice, whatever. We've had several moments like that. And it was kind of cool because you could feel the genuine connection.
Vibe.
And, like, the genuine vibe. And so I've shared some of those same things. I've almost passed them down, like, word for word to my younger brother because it was like, yo, that was something that was beneficial.
Right.
And I think everybody could benefit from hearing that.
Yeah, that's we have a cool perspective I actually never even thought about till now. So you have the perspective of a little brother, and I have the perspective of a big brother. I don't have a big brother,
right.
so I don't even know how to even look
right.
through that sort of eyes. But like with me and like my brother, we had such a our relationship growing up.
Yeah,
it was like we never disliked each other whatsoever, but we never like hung out with each other that much growing up.
Yeah.
And we were 2-year difference. So he was 2 grades under my grade.
Yeah.
But now granted, all my friends knew about my little brother.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends looked at my little brother like their little brother.
Right.
And so I'm trying to think back, like, in times where I've like told Derek something like, hey dude, that's probably not the legit or right thing to probably do in that moment. But even though we did not have like the relationship through all of high school, we're connected in a weird way. Like it's because Derek, Derek, he does a ton of stuff that's different than what I do.
Oh, for sure.
But coming back to it though, I still like that. I'm like, that dude's got a good heart though. He's doing it in a completely different way than I would do it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's like his YouTube videos.
Yeah.
His YouTube videos are hilarious. I'm behind the camera of the thing,
right.
like filming the thing, and I think they're the funniest thing ever.
Right.
But I'm like, even though he'll like say that stuff is like almost like a comedian,
right?
It's like he doesn't mean that,
right?
And I know that generally, so that's why I can sit there and laugh at it. Because if he did mean it, I probably wouldn't laugh. As weird as that sounds, I'd be like, no, that's kind of a douche.
yeah.
Something to say. Shout out Derek. I think he's literally in my house right now helping my mom. But yeah, we need to get Derek on the podcast one day. But it's an interesting perspective because I don't, and my dad didn't really like give me pointers like ever. I don't really think.
Right.
I've learned a lot of stuff through him, but it was more from learning from like an action, like changing a tire. He never told me how to change a tire. But I watched him change a bunch of tires.
See, that's interesting. That was like a lesson we got.
Really?
It was like, hey, come out here. We're going to change a tire today.
Yeah.
And it was like, you got to know how to do this. And so we had a lot of lessons like that. But I can remember from a really young age, something, I couldn't tell you why, really. I don't really know the why. It may take some time to figure that out if we sat down and really dug into it. But I always told myself I was going to be better. So no matter what my older brother did, whether it was good or bad, I said, I'm going to be a better brother. And so I always tried to live that.
I'm going to be a better brother as in the relationship, or I'm going to be better than him at other things?
Just, I'm going to be better relationship-wise. Like the way me and him interact, I want to do better than that for my younger brother.
Okay, gotcha.
Or like, watching... like a grown-up, let's say a parent or an aunt or an uncle, it's like, I want to be a better version of that. Not that any of them are bad versions of it.
Right.
My family's super great. We're super tight-knit, really close. I've got love for everybody, but I couldn't tell you what it was, but there was something always inside me that telling me I want to do better than that. I want to be the best. I can outperform that.
See, I can't relate with that at all because I'm not competitive.
Well, I don't think it comes from competitiveness though. Like it wasn't because like, oh, I'm going to do it because it's going to prove somebody wrong, or I'm going to do this because it was just literally out of like, I think I'm a good person.
Okay.
And what would make a good person better, right? So like if I had a good brother,
okay,
all right, and I'm a good person, how do I one-up that?
But why do you have to though? Why don't you just say I want to be a good person like my brother?
Just to take care of them better, just so that they're better. You know, like I've spent my time better. I've served them as an individual better than I could have otherwise. So, in the sense of like, I like to think back to our vacation we took. I don't know a lot of people who would push like I did to try and convince them to come, because like he was hesitant to come on that trip with us, and I was like, dude, I think you're gonna love it. You really need to come on this trip. And I just kept on, and finally he was like, all right, I think I'm gonna come. I said, perfect. Here's a list of the stuff we need to go buy. Let's go get it. No, just without hesitation, like, let's go. Let's get you ready. We're gonna have a freaking awesome trip, and we did. And I think I'd like to take a little bit of credit, but like he just went on a trip abroad, and he loves traveling. And I think going from a guy who was really shy, he used to be, and he's still a little bit shy, but I think that may have helped by me, somebody who's more outgoing than he is, trying to help push him to be like, dude, there's nothing that's going to happen. This is a standard vacation. Let's go. And he was like, all right. And he came, and now he goes and he's been on bigger trips than I've been on.
Right.
And I'd like to think that I've influenced that by being a good role model or helping to push him out of those comfort zones, you know?
Okay, so now, you just saying that last part now brought it back to what I was going to say. Because at first I was like, what does this have to do with being better? But now I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That you believe you were a piece that got him to want to travel more, I guess, in that case?
Just being brave enough to do it.
Okay, gotcha.
Because, like, he was like, all we did was drive to another state and then do some off-roading. And in my mind, that's nothing, right?
Right.
Like that's a normal day for me.
Right.
But for him, there was something about that, the idea of it, that didn't feel comfortable.
Well, I mean,
and there was a level of like, I guess, sketched out.
Yeah.
So like he wasn't vibing with it, but I kept on. I was like, dude, trust me.
Right.
You're gonna have a great time. And then he did, and we talk about it the same way that the friend group talks about it.
Right.
And I think also helping push that boundary is like knowing that he didn't know the Codys, right? Mm-hmm. But we're stuck with these guys for the next couple of days, so you better, you know.
Oh no, that part right there, yeah, being because anytime we talk about traveling, I just think about you when you used to first come camping with us. You were like, I'd tell you we didn't know where we were going. You were like, what the fudge are we talking about? Like, how are we even doing this? And there was an anxiety that was built there because you didn't know where we were going.
Yeah.
So, but now it's normal. Like
right.
now it's like, all right, we're going to take off there. And then at random times we'd bring new people in. Mm-hmm. And then it definitely, I mean, now you're cool with them all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could definitely see how you ran it back to that, and I could definitely see how that would be something that would.
Yeah. So now imagine going on like a trip where you don't know anybody. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna fly on a plane for like 12 hours or whatever to a place that's nobody in your family's ever been to.
Right.
So I just like to think that little bit of push helped get the ball rolling, building that confidence. Now there's a lot more to it. There's definitely like him working out has built his confidence up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Amount, but you could really dive into some of that. But I think being a good role model.
Oh no, I'm keen on.
And trying to be a better version of what a brother is That's the best way to describe it.
Okay. Now we're coming full circle.
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
You were saying like at first a better brother than my brothers, but you're just trying to be a better person that's a brother.
Yeah. So I think that's the better way to look at it because
Correct.
because that's what I was trying to point out. Like I'm not trying to compete with my older brother.
Gotcha.
And I'm not trying to say anything he's done is wrong, but like the stuff he's done that I thought was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build on that, and where are some areas that being a brother like that maybe I'm not doing right now,
Right,
and try to become a better version of what a brother is.
right.
Yeah.
Just like that, I was talking to you about that video. It's like the top 5 things a biblical husband does.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think I'm a pretty good person, and I think I'm a pretty good husband.
Yeah.
But I was like, I read those, and I was like, even though like a lot of that stuff you kind of already know, maybe it hasn't been presented to you in a way that you could really deep dive or understand it.
Yes.
But you kind of already like know it to a certain kind of degree.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was watching that video, I was like, okay. I was like, he would say something. I'm like, okay. I understand that, and then he would go into even more details about it, and then I'd be like, okay. And then I could start picking pieces from my individual life that I'm like, oh, this is something, this is something, this is something. Let me try to do this in a different way, completely change this, scratch this habit, whatever it is. And the role model thing is huge. I mean, it's beyond huge because even if say you and your brother did not have that great of a like connection really, it would be like he would at least look at you and he'd be like, that dude, he's got it going on or he's a good guy. And even if that was all that it was, I think that's huge. But I understand completely what you're saying now because I was sitting here I don't ever really sit back, and it's probably why I'll never be really successful at anything. It's because I've never sit back and like I want to be the best at that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are. This book I'm reading right now, it's like kind of discouraging because it says you got to find something you want to be the best at and strive to be the best at it. And I'm like, it's because I'm not competitive. I'm just like I'm not the best at like any of this stuff. I'm good at some of this stuff. I said, but I don't have no kind of drive to be the best of that. And I sit down back and I wonder like who influenced that on me for whatever reason. And was it influenced on me because it doesn't matter to win or lose, or was it influenced on me to insignifies in me that it's going to be okay either way?
Right.
You got a good life.
Right.
And so that's the ones that I'm trying to pick apart right now. It's like Was my parents the way that they were like is because they were like, it's because it's not like my family doesn't want me to be successful.
Right.
I mean, by all means they want me to.
Right.
But I was told from a very, very early point, and it was like, I mean, money's not the thing that's going to make you happy.
Right.
It can help make you happy for a temporary time, but and it also gains you the freedom to do all kind of different things, which also could lead to some sort of happiness. But in the end, if you had ton of money but no friends and no family, your life's probably going to suck.
Right.
So that's the thing to kind of connect it all back to each other is having like really, really good friends and being willing to talk about things with them friends.
Yeah.
Like if you had a bunch of just like not really close buddies and you had all this stuff that you need to talk about with somebody, I mean, that's why the best therapists are your friends.
Yeah.
Now, they might not be able to give you all the experience and everything because you're probably the same age.
Right.
And there's not a whole lot probably going on. But you hear about everybody in the world now goes to a therapist, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying a lot of these people that go to a therapist, I would like to see their family and friends.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where I'm like, man, I ought to go talk to somebody about this. And I talk to you about it, and I talk to Cammie about it, and I talk to Boss about it, or whoever it is. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, no, I just needed to get that out. I just needed somebody to listen. So that's a huge, huge piece of it.
Yeah, I think so. I had a revelation the other day, just thinking about this stuff real quick and about trying to be a better version. And we talked about role models here recently. But I thought about my cousin. I call him Little Will. even though he's not little anymore. But we used to be a lot closer, I can recall. But just as life goes on and he's gotten older and he's wanting to make, he's making friends at school. He's got his own thing going, really.
Yep.
And it's there's also the factor that, like, he's my cousin, so we just obviously don't spend as much time together.
Right.
But I thought to myself, I think I could still be a really good influence. And so I'm thinking about inviting him to do like a camping trip, because that's something that in my mind, looking back throughout my life, all the times I've got to go camping and doing like guy stuff, in quotes, that was such a beneficial thing for me. And those are things that I enjoyed. So if that's something he wants to do, if he wants to pitch a tent, if he wants, I don't care. I'll sleep on the ground. We'll just throw a sleeping bag in there and we'll rock and roll. If that's how he wants to rock and roll, I've got no problem with that. He wants to do hammocks. I'm willing to match that energy, do hammocks, even though I'm not a hammock guy. But building fires, chopping a little bit of wood, maybe carving something with a knife. Those are all things that I enjoy. But the overarching thing was the time spent together and the talks that you're able to have and just building those foundations of openness and working through things and just... But I really think that it's also a good way to show him. Like, I don't know if anybody shows him how to use a knife to do different things, or there's different types of knives to do that with, etc. So I was like, man, that would be really cool. So that's just something I've been thinking about doing.
My cousin Rhett, my grandpa says this to me all the time.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, Rhett used to be your best buddy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking when we were little.
Yeah.
And I don't like using the word. My grandpa always says that Rhett used to idolize me. I hate that word.
Yeah.
But Rhett was always like my little dude that went everywhere with me. Well, now the dude's bigger than I am, like in every aspect,
right? Except
age. And my grandpa will always be like, "Why don't you ever try to get Rhett to do something?" And I'll sit there and I'll think on it sometimes. I'll be like, maybe I should, but I've fallen in a lot of my life. I've fallen into a place to where sometimes people have a hard time. Not opening up's not even really the word. It's getting to the point to where you can open up, because it's so funny now that how many people said it. You've said it. Boss has said it. When everybody meets me, they say I look like a douchebag.
Yeah,
and after a little while, I think you get to meet me and you realize that I'm not one. Well, then there's also another spot that comes, and my brother actually he told me about this at one time, and it makes completely sense. And by no means am I better than anybody whatsoever, but some people don't want to even get in the same vicinity as me, is because I'm not like normal as of nowadays. Like, I don't party, I don't drink, or like I don't smoke weed. I don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
And that's such a normal thing nowadays.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody that does do that stuff and you're friends with somebody that doesn't do that stuff, they always think, well, I don't want to hang out with him because I'm not as good as him, or the reverse. He don't want to hang out with me because he's better than I am. And in that case, it was nothing. Every single friend of mine drinks alcohol, and I love every single one of them. It's no problem. But that was the barrier of entry for the longest time, like for me. Now, granted, a lot of my friends, they knew me before anybody drank alcohol.
Right.
So, like Cody Allender, me and him have been having hard talks for who knows how long. But every now and then, Cody drinks.
Right.
And it's like, that I love that dude to death.
Yeah.
Like, he's like one of the best buds. Like, he would call if I would call him if I was in a terrible situation, and he would come help.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my thing when it's like people in that lifestyle. Not that it's wrong, but it's just a long time, or there a lot of the time it's hard for even me to get that chance, because they're just like, that guy. And it's crazy is Derek told me that.
Mm-hmm.
Derek told me, he was like, Dylan, you ever thought about it? People just don't want to hang out with you all the time because you don't do things like anybody else does. Like, you go to bed at 8:30. He was like, everybody's up doing stuff at 9:30 at night.
Right.
And then you have to go to the gym in the morning and all this other stuff. And the world, and I do think it's good things, but we've pushed it so hard in the world that it's like that guy's above everybody, which it's not the case.
No.
But there's a lot of people that think that.
Yeah.
And that's a hard barrier to get by, is because, like, I have to at least be in some kind of vicinity with them to be able to talk things out.
Right.
And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, this guy might be all right. He goes, I might want to hang out with this guy, or I might want to do this, or I might want to do that. But that barrier for me, at least, is it's a very hard barrier to get past.
That's interesting. For this one, I was just thinking about, like, because we used to be super close too, me and Little Will.
Huh?
But then, just as time progressed, like I said, but at the same time, I don't know if, as like a family, they're doing the same things that, like, I enjoy doing, that I think are good things for kids to learn and to, like, get off their phone. And, like, don't get me wrong, that he plays, like, soccer and stuff, and that kid, he can run 1,000,000 times longer than I can. I figured that out a year ago. That was very impressive. But I don't know, I just think that I think he would enjoy it, and there's a certain level of like coolness, you know, that I can bring to the table that everybody else isn't currently. Like, I'm thinking about, obviously I can't do real guns, I don't think. So I'm thinking about taking, like, the pellet rifle out there. Let's shoot some cans or something. Maybe we'll cut some stuff with some knives. Dude type stuff, as I call it, that I think he'll think is cool. Maybe we can, I don't know, just standard outdoors things for me. Mm-hmm. But stuff I think that he'll get a certain level of enjoyment, and then we can just talk about stuff, you know.
I do know what you're talking about. I've dealt with a couple of little kids that's like, I tried to done that, and they're just not about it.
Well, that's fine. I mean, if we go and he doesn't, you know, and it's just like, man, this is lame.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool.
I don't really even. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I don't even really think about it often. Now, I don't even have whatever they would be to you, like little
They're my
fellas.
cousins.
Only ones I got is Savannah's and Brady's kids, and they can barely talk.
Right.
So I haven't even thought that far yet, because I don't know, because I don't have any of my own. So I don't even know what's right. I'm just basing off of what because once again, I like a lot of things people don't like.
Right.
Like, so it's like, I'm not going to even, now if somebody shows up interest in something, I'm all about diving full blown into the interest.
Right.
Like, but yeah, I haven't even thought that far.
But sometimes I just think I have all these resources available to me that I almost take for granted these days.
Oh yeah, same.
That other people, like, they don't even have a quarter of the amount of resources I have. And so I'm like, I'll at least offer it, because I may offer and he may say no. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. The offer stands anytime you're ready. Mm-hmm. If you ever wanted to, just let me know. And leave it at that. So, but I think if I don't use these, like, skills and talents that I've put my, like, heart and soul into, or at least offer them to somebody, then sometimes it feels wasteful. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
And so, like, if he even likes one thing, if all he wants to do is go pitch the tent and, like, build a fire and eat s'mores, that's fine. That's fine. I can show you how I do all of that, and that's what we'll do. Keep it simple.
Right.
But if it's like, let's go fishing, let's do this, let's do that, okay, I can do that too. And I've got all the resources in the world.
It's going to be tough when people ask me to go fishing, because I can't stand going fishing.
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna be like,
I'll tell you this. I will warn you. There ain't nothing harder than a day like middle of the summer. It's like it's over 100 degrees outside, and you don't catch nothing. Whew. Sometimes them days get to you if you have a couple of them.
You know what's something interesting I just now thought about?
Yeah.
That I consider myself like kind of like an outdoorsy kind of guy.
Yeah.
Now I love air conditioning. Don't let me get wrong. I do love air conditioning. But I like to go out. I like to camp. I like to do outdoor stuff and whatever. But I was sitting here thinking about it the whole time that you were talking about it. Is I didn't do a whole lot of that when I got older. So where was that? Where did that come from? Because I played I played sports and stuff. I was active a lot of the time.
Right.
But there is plenty of moments that I have memories I'll never forget playing video games. And that's such an interesting thing to say because anybody says, "Oh, you need to go outside and you need to get sunlight," which I think you do. Very much think you need to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, I have some memories playing video games that was like good memories. I mean, I'll never forget it. I still remember a guy that I had on there. His name was Brandon, and we would play Halo and Destiny with each other almost every night, and some of the funniest interactions ever. And I sit there and I'm like, I could tell that story to probably 99% of the world, and they would be like, this guy never went outside. But I'm like, no, I go outside all the time.
Right.
I mean, so I wonder where that came from. Now that I think about it, you want me to tell you the craziest thing? I think I know where it came from. I think it came from YouTube.
Really?
I really do.
Interesting.
I mean, to the point, like I said, I may have a problem with it, may not. I watch a ton of YouTube. Now, granted, I'm in a car all the time.
Right.
And just all the time. And I always had something where I was listening to something, podcast or whatever. And it was like, and maybe it's good or maybe it's bad. I'll be a good case study when I'm about 50.
Yeah.
Because I look back and a lot of the stuff I ended up getting into was because of YouTube. Like Grand Thumb.
Yeah.
Huge factor on why I got into the guns and everything.
Really?
I mean, it was because before that, I mean, I didn't get an AR till COVID. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
I had two guns.
Yeah.
I had a Glock that's never been shot before, and then I had a breakover 20 gauge that I used once to shoot skeet with.
Yeah.
And I'll sit there and I'll think back. I'm like, my dad's got guns. It wasn't often though we went and shot guns.
Yeah.
My grandpa's always shot guns, hunted. My whole family has hunted before, and I have no desire to do it.
Right.
But I like to shoot guns. So that's how I know it was YouTube, because it wasn't like a father-son grandpa thing, because it wasn't like, hey, we're going to go hunting, and then I got into guns. No. It was because, in this case, it was mostly probably because Grand Thumb and a handful of others, because COVID was going on. And I was like, you know what? I probably need to figure out how to protect my family.
That's an interesting way to think about it, because my family, it's the opposite, right? So Mel had a very strong sense of protection for the family, and he instilled that in all of us. And then, but like the hunting, my older brother wanted to get into hunting. So my dad said, all right, I'm going to learn how to do this. And he did. And he proved to himself and everybody else that he can do it. And Lucas and him went and they hunted and stuff. And then as time went on, he offered it to me. But then like the guns, that was just something, like once he started getting into guns, we would shoot just for fun or whatever. And like I built my AR at 15. So there's that. But yeah.
There'd be an interesting case study, because it's like a lot of the things I do now was like working out.
Yeah.
It was YouTube.
That's so crazy.
Steve Cook. I'll never forget. First guy I ever started following. I went to bodybuilding.com and I picked up Steve Cook's college workout plan when I was in college. And granted, I worked out before then, but I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
And I was just trying to work out because I was skinny my whole life and I wanted to have some kind of muscle.
Yeah.
And then I started watching these guys that could work out, and I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do that. So it will. It's probably like crazy that I haven't went off the deep end or anything like that, because like
Some days you're close, but
man, I don't even know if that. I mean, I think I have a lot of common sense compared to a lot of people.
no, you do. But then there's some things
And
that
then
I
I
think
got-
are questionable. But, that's
But
fine.
yeah, a lot of my that's so interesting. I'm just really coming to
that is really interesting. I
so
think.
many of the things I'm into now is because of the internet.
Yeah, the online interaction.
online
Whereas
interaction.
mine were almost all based
Right.
in like somebody showing me.
Right. But we ended up coming to the same spot.
Yeah.
I mean, you came to this spot because your brother and Mel like guns. I came to this spot because I'm watching a guy on YouTube talk about, hey, COVID's going on, all these riots are going on. I need to find a way to protect my family, and I'm like, that's the thing I need to do. Now, granted, I shot a gun before then,
Right. But that
it-
mindset,
yeah,
I find that really interesting, and maybe that's why we have different viewpoints on certain aspects of
oh, it's got to be.
that. It's just because like I've thought about it for so long and from a young age, whereas you really took this on when you were older.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had a different perspective out the gate because it's not something that like you had been thinking about.
No,
It was more of a newer concept.
because you also got to think up to even now.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was little, I'm not about violence at all.
Right.
It's like maybe it's a good thing. It's probably a bad thing, but it's like it's why I have no like want to learn martial arts or anything. It's because I don't like violence. I have a gun to stop violence
Right.
from happening.
Right.
Now, yes, you're part of it if you're the guy that's got the gun.
Obviously,
But that's why none of that stuff was ever brought up in the start. It was, I mean, my dad is the chillest guy you'll ever meet in my life. And your entire, like, he's chiller than me.
yeah.
And then it's like, you got my mom, which, fantastic mom, but my mom don't even think likes guns. Like, if I go put on a gun and if I go get a gun and I shoot it, she's like, oh my gosh. You know? Now, granted, she's used to it yesterday. I was walking around the range with her just dry firing my Glock the whole time.
Yeah.
And she's used to it at this point. But it's also weird how nobody's ever questioned the change, though.
Mm.
Because it's like, kind of going back to the YouTube thing, it's like YouTube, I start watching YouTube so much,
Mhm.
and the amount of stuff I've learned from YouTube now, it's insane.
Oh, yeah.
So, but talking particularly on the gun thing,
Mhm.
I start watching Mike,
Yeah.
start getting into the guns,
Yeah.
start watching a handful of other guys talking about, I'm watching the news all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, this is the right move.
Mm-hmm.
I said, now, obviously my family did a really, really good job implementing the Constitution, all of our rights, all that stuff, because I know all that stuff.
Right.
And then it's like, I get this gun, and then it's like I'm going over to my mom's house the next day, and I'm dry firing the gun in her house.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it never even questioned to my mom. It wasn't like, oh, Dylan's doing something weird. Like, I've never seen him have a gun out before, but now he does it. Nobody even ever came up and even questioned me about it. And like, if somebody it was a single answer, and they're like, "Oh, he's serious." Like, I'm not faking it. It's just like working out was the same other deal. It was like, and then my mom sometimes was like, "You don't need to be working out all the time. Don't take creatine, you're gonna die," and all this other stuff. And I figured out creatine from the internet.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't some guy did not come up in the gym and was like, "Hey, you want to take some creatine?"
Right.
No. It was from the internet.
Right.
But it's interesting how I'm on the definitely one side of the spectrum. Then you got these other people that's over here learning how to make bombs.
Yeah.
Or and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did I not ever cross that path? Because I've learned a lot of stuff off of YouTube.
Well, I just think it's morals. Like, what are you seeking?
Right.
Like, you got into firearms for a good reason,
right.
not a malicious reason.
So that's an interesting case study though.
Yeah.
Still, because we were both taught a lot of the same morals. Me and you were.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I was taught them, and that was it.
Right.
That's where it stood. And then you were taught them, and then you were also taught ways on how to like
go about
implement them.
Yeah. Like here's the reality of the situation. Yeah.
And see, I wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's so crazy, because think about this.
Yeah.
We were talking about the kids and everything. It doesn't matter how you raise your kids, because that just means if you implement the good morals and values in them, one way or another, they'll find a way.
Yeah.
Because Boss wasn't into the defense stuff
right.
until kind of we got into the defense stuff, and or he was watching other people we watched.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, this is something to get in. And I knew how Boss was raised a lot of bit. I mean, heck, he was almost my neighbor. So I was like, me and him kind of got raised a lot in the same way.
Right.
And I know that dude watches a lot of YouTube too. Sorry, spit everywhere. But it just goes to show, at the end of the day, coming from two guys that doesn't have any kids or anything, I think it does fall back to how you implement the true things to your children.
Yeah.
The true things to your friends and your family, because we have things that I've built off from Cammie. There's things I built off from Miranda, and that's a huge perspective, because it's just like building a house.
Yeah.
You have to start on the foundation. Take the foundation and make sure it's right. One way or another, you're going to build the house with your dad, or I'm going to look it up on YouTube how to build the house.
Yeah.
So either way, but we're coming to the end of the time there. John Boy, you got anything else?
I think the last few things I've got is just we've talked a lot about like hard conversations, thinking things through, trying to do what's right or what you think is right, being a good person, which I feel like we've covered in a couple of different ways recently. And so this is just another way to go thinking about it. But I hope everybody's doing well out there. Mm-hmm. Treat somebody, meet somebody new, make a new friend, treat people with kindness. God bless. That's all I got.
Yep. I'm going to keep saying it at the end of every podcast now. Be the good guy.
Yeah.
Be the good guy. Be the good woman. Remember, it's very simple. Be good.
Yeah.
Good is what we strive to do all the time. So, anyway, guys, that is the end of episode 28. We're about to come on the big 3-0.
3-0.
A lot of our guests has not appeared this year.
Yeah.
So
I'm working on a couple.
Yeah. So hopefully we could get some good ones soon.
Maybe I can get one for 3-0.
I'm just going to start doing Theo Vaughn's route and just like go grab a male guy. And I'm like, dude, bring the male guy in here. Let's talk about some things. But so anyway, love you guys out there. This is the end of the podcast, and y'all have a good one. Later,
Peace.
guys.